SELSI, Spoken Easy Language for Social Inclusion.
So maybe first of all, thank you very much for being here. I learned much already this morning, and I'm really glad to be here and share just some of our work in Switzerland on these procedures on accessible communication in adult protection procedures. So I will really narrow down to just this focus, and maybe there will also be some interesting input for larger communicative contexts. So I will first tell something about easy language in Switzerland, then I will introduce to the topic of accessible communication in adult protection procedures. Why is it, what is it, why is it important, and also what are the authorities doing at the moment and what are challenges. And then I will conclude maybe with opening up to other contexts. Languages in Switzerland, we are a multilingual country, so we have German, French, Italian and Romansh in these different regions. So we are not all speaking all these languages, but they are spread in different regions. And I will talk mainly about the German part. And the German part is maybe particular because the written communication is mainly in standard German, so the same as in Germany. And spoken communication is very often, not always, very often it is in Swiss German dialects. So there are a variety of dialects which are different maybe in vocabulary, so the words we use, but also the pronunciation and also sentence formation syntax. So this is the situation in Switzerland. When it comes to easy language or to easy language, we have the written easy language, which the easy German, which is the same as in Germany. We use the guidelines, the rule books, for example, by Maas, which has been cited. So this is the same material we use. It is used in several fields in Switzerland. When it comes to the spoken form of easy language, however, we do not have guidelines, of course. So, however, we asked in a conference, we asked people who are working with people with disabilities, do you use easy language? And all of them said, yeah, I use easy language. And they did not say, I use the rules or the guidelines for written language, but I do it on my feeling. I do it by intuition. So this is the situation now. So we have no guidelines, we have no training really, and there are no interpreters. In contrast to Germany, where there are several interpreters for spoken language, easy spoken language. So at the moment where I come from, so we are a small team working on easy language with Anne Parpan-Blaser, Annette Lichtenauer and Gabriela Antener, which you may know. We speak a lot of addressee-oriented communication, which is not so beautiful term, but in order to being larger, because we also had this discussion, is it easy language, is it plain language? So we gather this under the addressee-oriented communication. Now, adult protection procedures. Maybe first of all, what is this? So adult protection authorities, they are responsible for protecting adult citizens. So maybe older people with dementia, a lot of people with learning disabilities, they get support of these authorities. The support is provided by a deputy. So they can support, for example, in finances, in healthcare, in different domains of life. The deputy can have very different roles. So he can just advise the person, he can assist the person, or he can really represent represent the person. So this means that the person cannot sign a contract, for example. It has to be the deputy. So different roles of these deputies go along with different degrees of restriction of the capacity to act of these people. So we speak of clients, the authority and their clients, which are the persons concerned. So now the aim of the authority in a procedure is to find out what kind of support, what kind of deputyship is necessary here. How does the procedure look like? Very briefly, there is the opening where the client is, where you inform the client. Now the procedure opens and we have to clarify the situation. What support do you need? Then there is this clarification process. So the authority collects a lot of information about you as a client, on your life, on what kind of support you need. And in this process you have also the possibility to exchange. So you will have conversation with the authority. Then there is a very important moment, which is the hearing. At the hearing, you can express what do you think about the proposed support. So the authority says, we think you should have a representative deputyship, and at the hearing you can explain why maybe this is not necessary, so you have to share your opinion. And then there is the decision, which is a letter, and I think here we are very close to what we heard just before. These are longish documents with a lot of references to law, of course. Just very briefly, what is it as communication? It's institutional official communication where we have a lot of specific language or a lot of difficult words, these legal wordings, of course. It's an expert to lay communication in the sense of we have the authority with a lot of knowledge about this legal domain, and we have the clients which have less knowledge about this. So it's an expert to lay communication. Now maybe just to explain what, where does come from what I'm speaking about. So we had two larger projects on this adult protection, and I will not go into the details, but in the first project we had a focus on written language. So we translated documents from the authority and developed in addition a brochure or maybe also a manual for people concerned. So what is a procedure? What is this authority? Just information in easy language. And then the next project, which just finished now, so this one, here we looked at, in general, communication between the authority and the clients. So it was not on easy language, but we wanted to find out how do they communicate and how does the authority guarantee that people can participate in the procedure. So this is research. So we did qualitative research with interviews in both cases, interviews with professionals and also interviews with people concerned, so with the clients. And we have also in the second study we have observations of hearings or of conversations where we did conversation analysis. Now, why is it so important, accessible communication here? I think you all know it, but I will just briefly mention 3 points. First is that we have a revised law on child and adult protection. And there the aim is really that the clients can actively participate in the procedure, and when they have to participate, they have to be informed in a manner which is understandable for them. So they cannot express their opinion if they didn't understand what was happening before. So this seems very simple, but for the authority it's really challenging to guarantee this. Another point is, and this is really important, we think, is that this authority in Switzerland has a very, very bad reputation. So, because there were cases where relative to children, for example, where they were very difficult situations, and so now it's really, they got it also that it is important to get a better reputation and to calm the fears of the clients. So this accessible communication, getting understanding, a mutual understanding is really important in order to reduce this stress and fears. And then, just mentioned before, also the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Switzerland has been criticized for several points, but relative to this topic, maybe 1 or 2 points. The first point is that this Article 12, which demands equal recognition before the law, they say that in fact this representative deputyship should not exist anymore. So it is not possible anymore that a deputy really represents entirely a person. So I think this is something which is still we are still doing in Switzerland, and exactly for this reason it's even more important that people can really expose their opinion. They can expose their real needs, so that they can maybe get the deputyship, but only in form of advice, for example. Now maybe just some points. What are the authorities doing? So this is what we saw with the interviews, with the observations. So they create a safe and comfortable, a relaxed atmosphere. So they reduce fear when getting in conversation. They address the clients personally. So this has been mentioned before. So when there are relatives or assistants, really they address the clients and not the accompanying persons. I think that is an important advance. They use easy language in written documents, sometimes, not in all documents. The decision letters are not in easy language because they say it's not possible to translate these legal terms in easy language. Plain language also sometimes in the conversations. They check if persons concerned need interpreters, for example, before they get in a meeting. They ensure that persons really are present, that they come to the meetings, to these conversations. And this seems normal for us, but some years ago, people concerned were not naturally present. And they really re-invite people to come. A very interesting insight we had is that they use spoken language really as a strategy to transmit complex information. So if things seem too complex, they say, so I use spoken language to explain. And of course, this is because we can adapt to the situation and to the persons. And they involve third persons. This can be relatives, for example, family members. So this is what we see, what they are doing in order to manage these challenges. Now, what do we see as a challenge? Maybe I just have to check time. So what challenges do we see? The aims of the conversations, they are not always very clear. And this is very interesting because we have seen that it is important to create a relaxed atmosphere. So they start with chatting a little bit with topics which may be interesting for the clients, and then they move to the more serious content, and it's not really made clear. So clients, they do not get really what aim is pursued at which moment. And we think that is really a very important point, that it's clear. Now we're in this stage of the conversation, and now it's important that you understand and that you can express yourself. We also see that spoken communication sometimes replaces written content. So we're not saying that spoken communication is not good, but written communication should also be given so that they can have a permanent access to the information. They may maybe ask someone else afterwards for explanation. So spoken communication as addition, we think it's really useful, but not as replacement for maybe a decision letter which is understandable. Then we also see that when they use the strategy of spoken communication, the problem is that the content and the form of communication is very different from one professional to the other. And in these authorities, we have social workers and lawyers and pedagogical professionals. So they have really different experience, training. So this leads to a lot of differences in how they communicate with the clients. And especially in the absence of guidelines, we have no guidelines, so everyone is like doing as he or she is feeling it. And this we see leads to a lot of differences between in the treatment of the people. With the strategy of third persons, also third parties, so family members, we think it's really important that they are there because they can assist, they can sometimes translate, they can give information to the authority or from the authority to the client. But also here we see a lot of challenges when it is not clear which role has the person now in the conversation. So you have the client, we have maybe the mother, which is accompanying it, and sometimes she will speak instead of the person. She will interrupt maybe. So these are very challenging situations for all of the parties, and our recommendation is really to make it very clear in what role do we act at which moment also in the conversation. Yes, and we saw that plain language does function for a moment in these conversations, maybe at the beginning, and then when it comes to really complex subjects, often the authority is then addressing more the family members, for example. And then we see that, yes, the form, how we speak, of course, is very important, but we think that also at what comes at which moment is really important. And we say that this is part of accessible communication. So, for example, if we say the hearing is so important because clients can say, I agree with the support you propose. It's very different if they have to do this in the moment, so they hear what support they get, and they can say, yes, I agree. Or if they receive this information maybe 2 weeks before the conversation, they can look at it, they can reflect at it, they can discuss it with other people. So, yes, here's a quote. For me, that takes preparation, being able to say clearly that I want this and that now. So this shows how important it is to be able to prepare for something, and this moment of information is very crucial. I'm sorry, I lost. Do I still have one or no?
Yes, we have 3 minutes, but also some for questions.
With questions.
Yeah.
So I will stop with this slide. I think there are a lot of things maybe we saw that may also concern other domains and not only adult protection procedures. But I picked up 3 things here. So we have seen that professionals lack knowledge of specific disabilities, and we think that this is really important. And it has been said just before. We do not say that we have to communicate on the basis of diagnosis, but it is in some cases very important to have some knowledge about the challenges the persons have in communication in order to really adapt to the person. So we think that this is something that authorities and also in other public services is important that they get to this knowledge. Then something special maybe in these conversations and other conversations in the public sphere is that there is a large restriction of time and amounts of conversations. We see this person 1, maybe 2 times, and we have 1 hour maybe to get all this. So to adapt our language, getting to know the person and what she or he needs is very difficult in this small window of time. So we say it would be very useful for this and other contexts to have a questionnaire for the communication needs in order to have some hints to prepare the conversation before. Yes, I think I leave the last point, and so we have some time for question. And here you have just a small comment. Here we have also developed like a manual for these adult protection procedures, and it would be very interesting to see whether there might be some convergences with the other manuals and the guidelines. I know will be there. Yeah, thank you.
SELSI, spoken easy language for social inclusion. Partners are Zavod Risa, RTV Slovenija, Dyslexieverbundet, Università degli Studi di Pavia, Vieglas Valodas Agentura, Vilnius Universitetas, Vsi informacijos kaupimo ir sklaidos centras. Funded by the European Union.